know that, but you know what I mean. All right, and here we are, everyone. Happy Saturday. By now, you all know that when Kitty and I get together, we get together to play, but we also get together to give you all some amazing insight. And just like I always say, when Kitty and I are together, the insight that we are sharing, because there's so much going on, we have a major, I'm going to call it, that they're not that our nodes. They are getting ready to transit. So before I dive into all that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to make sure we are where we need to be streaming. We are streaming on Twitter, YouTube, and of course right here on Facebook. Please go ahead and share this out if you are watching on Facebook, if you are watching on Twitter, if you are watching on YouTube. If you have not subscribed yet, please do so. But I'm just going to go and check that we are actually live there. And then Kitty's just going to introduce the title for today. And she's going to talk just a little bit about what she and I are going to be chatting about during our time together. So welcome, Kitty. How are you today?
I am well. What platform on Facebook are you sharing this on?
This is on my regular page. So this would be on Joanne Angel Barry Cologne.
Okay,
the regular page.
I'm not seeing it.
All right, so I'm going to just make sure we are there. So 1 second.
Because I was going to try to share it out to IOTS.
All right. Well, we definitely are there because I do see it. So what I'm going to do is, I wouldn't be able to share it to.
No. Yeah. This was 1 day ago. Huh.
Yeah, we are definitely there because I see it.
Hi, Deborah.
Is Deborah with us?
Yes, she is.
All right.
She is on YouTube. And Deborah, I'm going to talk to you personally right now. I can't even begin to tell you how many things are cross-secting with colors and messages about colors, and other people are talking about the colors. But here's one for you guys. Out here in the Northeast, outside of Bangor, Maine, the trees are starting to turn. The colors. It's June 8th. I mean, July 8th. So that's not normal. So it's an interesting, we're about an early fall is usually, we start to see it mid-August. So I was amazed driving through the country we've had a very rainy fall. So, rainy spring. So I'm sure that's part of it, but that's very interesting. Yeah, I know already. So there's a vibration of new things changing, unfolding. The other thing that I've noticed is that flowers that never see each other. So the colors have been amazing. Flowers that either usually go by or don't come till really the heat of summer, which has not been here. They're all out. We had lupins up till last week. Lupins usually leave, if we're lucky, stay till the middle of May. So, we haven't had unfortunately, we have not had the hot days. We've had rain, and we've had rain and rain.
So, and more.
We've had actually 3 days of sun here. So, so that's been interesting in colors too. Just flowers that don't usually see each other, to have lilacs, lupins, peonies, daylilies, Queen Anne's lace starting to come up. Just these things don't usually see each other. So it's been very, very interesting.
All right. So yes, we are on all the platforms that we are streaming on. So when you do hop on, please say hello and let us know that you are here. And we are going to get this fun party started. And again, I'd like to just thank you for all being here with us on this Saturday night on just about 8:03 p.m. Eastern. And I do want to ask, even though our topic is not really about this, but I'm going to ask it anyway. How did everybody enjoy yesterday, the energy of the 777? And were you aware of yesterday's energy being the 777 portal, which was all about abundance? It was about magic. It was about allowing yourself just to be in that state of being able to receive the energy of different contracts. It was a great energy to put out. It was almost similar to like a full moon or new moon energy where you can literally sit and put out. It was also big activation energy for the upper chakras from the heart, throat, third eye, and crown. So if you were aware of the energy, you might have actually felt some activation going on in those chakras. Similar to almost like a Kundalini energy, but it was literally just from the heart up, had nothing to do with the root, sacral, and solar plex for this one. This is really all upper chakras. And this energy that we experienced from yesterday is going to continue over the next couple of days. So if you were aware of the 777 and you've been doing some of your meditation and just alignment, you may also continue to notice those shifts in those chakras. So pay attention to whatever may show up for you based on that energy. And if you are just becoming aware of it now, it's not late. It's not late. You didn't miss anything. You can still definitely activate those chakras. In fact, I've shared out on all of my platform an amazing meditation that helps you to activate those chakras. And I will also share a little later a second part to that to open that energy up a little bit more, because that's what this is really about, is to allow your chakras to flow so you can be more in alignment to what there is for you out there without getting caught up in the worry, the doubt, the fear, the like, oh my God, is it really going to work for me? Yes, it's going to work for you. And that's really a message for myself, people, because I've been doing that a lot in my head. Is like certain things going on in my life right now where I often question that, and I always reach out to Kitty to get confirmation. Is what I do with Kitty. It's like, Kitty, is this really going to work for me? And of course, Kitty, what do you say? What do you tell me?
Yes. Of course it is. Right time, right place, divine timing.
Exactly.
And you're getting these confirmations. It's about how it unfolds. That's, years ago, I was just talking about this today. Years ago, I was on a group. And one of the things I learned from the group, though I understand it now from a more expanded energy, is that life is product and process. And when they're balanced, the product you want and the process of getting there are equally as important. So you're in a product and process kind of thing right now.
Yes. And it's so funny because I don't really consider myself to be that logical and to really work in the 3D energy. But with the situation that I'm experiencing right now, I often find myself in that mindset only just based on the industry itself that I'm working with. And it does like throw me off course sometimes. It's like, how can it be it's possible that the universe wants this to happen, but then there all that logical stuff in the background, so to speak.
Balance is orange, process is green. You know what's funny? When I was a kid, Deborah, I hated those colors together. Though I don't mind coral in green, but it was interesting. Now, that's fine. But as a kid, I really didn't like those colors together. How funny is that? Well, yes. And so yesterday was also, we have Mars sitting at the 29th degree of Leo. And when everything is at the 29th degree, the anaretic degree, it's about all of the lessons of Leo. And what is the most intense lesson of Leo is that power comes from within. It's individual power, and it's aligning with the universe in the time it needs to align. Hardest thing for that Mars at 29 degrees to deal with, in Leo especially.
Yes. And I'm going to share this little story with very little information, which is going to sound really funny. So anyway, what I was doing yesterday, originally I was supposed to do it at 5:30 p.m. And then I got a text from the person asking me if we could meet later. And the time we were scheduled to meet for later was 7:30. And I found it so interesting. I'm like, that's quite interesting that the time was shifted from the 5:30 slot, moved into a 7:30 slot. So because I'm all about numbers, obviously the 5:30 was that 8 energy, which is a great energy. It's about abundance, it's about that achievement, success, harmony, and balance. But the 7:30 energy was all about the 10, which in astrology is about Capricorn energy, which is about my soul's purpose. But then aligning it with that energy of the 777 because it was in the 7 hour. And I was like, there's something to this. Not quite sure what yet. I'm still working on that energy. Kitty, any ideas?
Well, I was thinking about the 7th hour, and that's, of course, a 1. So that's a new beginning. So that occurs to me, too. That
Yes. Yeah. So it was, exactly. But not to get off topic, because I know I can, and I can drag Kitty right with me, but I want to get on topic.
It's not much of a drag, let's face it.
So. She and I could probably sit on here for like 2 hours, but that definitely will not keep your guys' attention span for that long. So let's get on our topic for today, which is all about, what is our topic for today, Kitty?
What do we call it? Your soul's journey.
Yes, there you go. I remember the journey part. I'm like, okay, there was something else to it. It wasn't called just the journey.
In case you don't know, it's up by the duck at the top.
Oh, look at that. I love
See, we learn every moment. How many of these have we done? And it's up by the duck.
Yes, I just saw it. Thank you for bringing that to my attention. That is the most funniest thing in the world. I tell you, when people watch us, sometimes they probably think this is comedy hour.
It's about the learning. So we talked about your soul's journey because Joanne will say, you want to go on? And I'll say, sure. And then she'll say, got a title. And then that's how we go from here. And so this particular week they're always interesting, but this is the last until the 18th, which is next Tuesday. This last moments of the soul's journey that has been in Taurus. And so when we talk about the soul's journey, we're talking about the North Node. And the North Node is your soul's highest goal, kind of moving away from what they call the South Node, but keeping the golden shadow, the best aspects of that energy, moving towards learning about this other energy. And it's been in this Scorpio Taurus axis for a little over 18 months. And Scorpio is always about getting away from everything else, to transform, to change, it's the birth and death cycling constantly. But the goldenness of it is the power of it, the understanding that everything changes. And this is the quest of Taurus. How do I live and stabilize my best life? What is beautiful? Venus rules Taurus. And so we have been with our soul's journey, and many of you have felt it. And we've had this big ascension in March into this divinity, because our soul has been stabilizing it. And so it's like stabilizing the platform that you're going to dive from. What am I going to jump into? Because on the 18th, we now move into a new 19.5-month period of the axis of Libra. How do I stay balanced for myself, but not balanced at all costs, which is really about sometimes when you talk about Libra and its denser understanding is I have to be balanced at all costs. So I have to follow what society tells me I am. I have to follow all of these rules. Meanwhile, we have Capricorn, Pluto and Capricorn helping us restructure for our new vision. So we're crossing to that axis where we're into Aries. Aries is the song by Sia, Unstoppable. It is the beginning energy of the zodiac. It starts everything. Without Aries, we'd be discussing things to death. Aries takes the plunge. It's the spark that ignites. And so our souls are now moving into it's actually because of the way the North Node moves. The last beginning It really is about this beginning before we go into another whole cycle for the nodes. And it's really about starting our soul's journey, is really getting, being asked to step into, what would you call your most beautiful life? Where do you want to take this step? You've been feeling, how do I look at my values? How do I set things up? And now this is the push. This is the person in the airplane that counts for you. And when you hit, you're going off with the parachute. This is that energy we are stepping into on the 18th. And this week, one of the things that happens that's a real helpful player for us in our soul's journey is that Mars, what we were just talking about, steps now into Virgo. And Mars in Virgo is a surgeon. It's very much about the precision of the suture of what I'm doing next, how I focus on the next pieces. So it's stepping in just in time for this spark. Some people have called it, I've heard what, volcano, bomb, and then came to me and to another friend of ours, Joe Monkman, geyser. This is when the geyser is, this is Old Faithful. It's going to go, and it's calling our soul. And we've been talking about redoing our contracts, looking at all this 7 gates energy, this luck energy, this abundance, this relationship in beauty, because it is also ruled by Venus, and pretty Libra is, and pretty much how are we going to step into this new understanding our soul has called us.
I love that. Now, only because somewhere along the line I sort of faded away, got so caught up in just your tone of voice, that Mars in you just said it, Mars in Virgo. When does that actually take place? What day?
Did I walk away without my calendar?
I mean, I can look it up if I need to. It's not
a big deal. It's right here. Mars goes into Virgo on the 10th
of July.
And then the next player in this week that's helping us is that our Mercury moves into Leo. Mercury moving into Leo allows us to express who we are in these last few days of stabilizing, getting ready to take that plunge. That's what our souls have been doing, stabilizing. Do I keep this? Do I push this on? What is beautiful to me? So we know kind of where we want to launch, where that spark is going to send us forward.
Now, Mercury going into Leo, that takes place on July 11th, yes?
On July 11th, yes.
Oh, wow. So literally a day apart from each other, both these energies are shifting.
Right. And we have just completed, as of today, not quite yet, well, actually at 3:19 p.m., a full moon cycle since Pluto went retrograde. And I go back to Pluto going retrograde. First of all, Pluto is a very slow-moving planet. So it's very deep, very, and when it went retrograde back into Capricorn, it took with us that dip we took into the vision in Aquarius of what Pluto is helping us to transform, that age of Aquarius energy that we are stepping into. And when it goes retrograde, it now is working internally, and I'm aligning my structures. And part of that is going to be this soul node axis change, where I move from Taurus, I'm ready, I'm stable, let's go, Aries. I'm unstoppable.
Yes. So it's going to get somewhat fun by July 22nd when Venus enters Leo.
And it's Leo season.
Exactly. Because at that point, we'll have Mercury, we'll have the Sun, we'll have Venus, all in Leo energy.
Yes.
So, wow. For those Leos out there, buckle down.
I'm a Leo moon, so.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I remember. And Venus goes retrograde on the 22nd, correct?
That's what it does, is it goes retrograde.
Yes. Because
so it's going to stay in Leo for quite a while.
Yes. Yeah, so that's quite
And of
interesting. And
course, when Venus retrogrades, it's the revisit, re-examine. So you'll take a step and will literally be stepping back to take a look at it. So very much, it's a very joyful, calming geyser. You know, it's old faithful, but it's in a new understanding of what's being let go, what's coming from that. So, and I, uh, it's an amazing currency of, what is the imagination? Because, we have Saturn sitting there in Pisces. What structures, what are you trying to focus? What's the dream? What would be the best story you can tell yourself about what's going on in your life? This is living from your imagination to make it real. What is the best story I can tell? What is the knowing of the steps that I'm aligning my soul's new purpose? Because it is a new purpose. It's not just keeping with my purpose. There's something new coming through for you. Maybe it's a new way you'll do something. Maybe it's a new person in your life. Maybe it's a new level of understanding. Maybe it's a new skill. It's a new thing that your soul is stepping into.
yes, yes, and and also when we think about that energy at that point in time, we'll have what we have. We'll have Pluto. We have Pluto in Capricorn. We have both Neptune and Saturn in Pisces in retrograde. Then we also will have Venus in retrograde. Is there another one that's in retrograde at that point, or is it?
Chiron retrogrades.
I wasn't even thinking of Chiron. I was figuring that there was another planet that was retrograding.
Chiron retrogrades.
Well, that's just going to make it all even more fun because Chiron right now is in Aries. And considering our North Node is moving into Aries, talk to me a little bit about that. And notice, guys, I said for Kitty to talk to me a little bit about that. But talk to us about that because it's not just about me.
Retrogrades are all about the pause. They're all about that your internal structure is aligning to draw and create your external structure. And of course, Chiron in Aries is about being your authentic self. And so one of the things you may find in revisiting, relooking as Venus enters in, also into retrograde, is what dreams I might even have them as a child and I've literally forgotten because I've accepted different understandings of myself. What mask have I perhaps been wearing, even internally to myself, that I'm happy to get to move on to? I'm so tired of being in a pause, but you're not in a pause. All the pause is the place that we meet. And so retrograde really is though it's a pause, it's not really, it's still an internal restructuring,
it's a reset. It's a reset. It gives us an opportunity to reset the energies that, as Deborah is saying, as a pause, it's an opportunity to literally take a look at everything and see what has been working for you. And if it has, you're going to continue to do that. But if it hasn't, it's an opportunity for you to now say, this no longer works, so I'm going to let it go, which then gives you that opportunity to bring in something else that's going to work.
Well, and it's in the pause that we live in the present.
Yes.
We aren't looking at the future. So part of what I think is coming from this new spark, I don't think, I'm understanding, is coming from this new spark is our soul's this new soul action is clearer because we've stopped and focused. That's what that Saturn in Pisces is doing. We've focused our dream. So we'll know, and Mars will allow us to figure out what the next best small piece is that we are. Yes, I also agree. It is resetting, and it's frustrating, isn't it, Deborah? It is absolutely frustrating. Like, I feel like I've been in pause, and yet when I really look back, I haven't been. I've been able to look what the next best thing for me is. But
Yes.
a pause is just the space between our breath. It's where we meet. It's where things come to us.
Exactly. What I want to do is I want to answer a few questions that Deborah has that sort of been skipped over. She asked when we were speaking about, when I asked what the title was, and you pointed out to me, it's up on the corner where the duck is. Deborah asked, what duck? Well, Deborah, if you're looking at you're not on the screen, the StreamYard link, but on the far left hand top corner, you're going to see a duck when you're on your StreamYard link, and that's where your title will show. So the next time you're on your StreamYard link, now that Kitty brought it to my attention as well, I'm going to realize, oh, my title's up there. So that's helpful. I don't have to look for it like a crazy person. And then also Deborah asked in regards to the time zone that you had mentioned. I'm guessing that's based on the
Eastern Standard Time
portal you were speaking of. Yes, It was based on the Eastern Standard Time. Yes. So I think I caught all of Deborah's questions.
She says, oh my God, so frustrating. What's so frustrating? The pause?
What is frustrating, Deborah?
Well, she's telling us, interesting today, 222, there was the void of course, which is your own moon's energy, your own private energy steps in. And at that very same moment, you were able to activate some kind of transformation with that focus of your dreams, focus of your of what you want to do. I understand. I keep thinking, all right, it's not fast enough. But then when I look back and realize, if it had gone faster back then, I wouldn't be understanding as much as I understand now. I wouldn't be having all of these color experiences if it had gone faster for me.
Yes.
Including rainbows. I had another rainbow.
You have another one?
I didn't drive through this one, though.
Oh, okay. Wow. Yes. Yeah. It's like that expression where you're exactly where you need to be. I mean, sometimes that expression throws me off course. It's like, really, this is exactly where I need to be. But when we think about it, yeah, this is wherever you are in this very moment, exactly where you need to be to get you where you're actually going to be going. You know
I heard something, I read something today about, when we want it to be faster and all those, that means we're comparing it to something outside ourselves. And what the author said is, if you need to compare yourself to something, compare yourself. Are you a better version of you today than you were yesterday? The only thing to compare yourself with is your journey yesterday to where you are today. So.
Exactly. And also, too, when we speak about our retrogrades, it gives us an opportunity to review back to the version of ourselves from yesterday. And if you want to stretch it and look at the version of yourself from, let's say, a week ago, a month ago, I mean, I'm going to stretch mine back to the version of who I was, let's say, 9 months ago when I closed down my storefront. That version of me then and the version of who I am now, very different version. And I mean, sometimes I look in the mirror and say, who the hell are you? It's like, wow, where did you come from? And getting to know this newer version of who I am. And I'm sure the minute I get to know this version of me right now, it's going to get ready to change again. So we're constantly learning about ourselves as we go each and every day. So,
right, because we learn to live from our imagination, not the constraints that we've been taught we should be. And I love what Deborah said, being in the pause, but I have to remember what that is. It's a very orange thing. Yes. Being in that space between inhale and exhale, where nothing exists and everything is possible. That's where we meet our imagination. That's where we meet our energy. That's where we meet and attract others, because that's the place that we meet. And so it is, I understand, because I sometimes think this just isn't fast enough. And, and then I have to remember I'm going to get orange then. I'm going to look for something orange because there are so many things coming forward to be read. That is where creation is possible. Love that. That's a tattoo. That is where creation is possible. Right.
I think that would be more tight.
That's that living from our imagination, That is, I wouldn't have imagined my life, just what you were saying, Joanne, the way it is now, 2 years ago, because I didn't know enough to imagine it the way it is now. And so, and I'm very curious to see what this spark tells my soul's journey, my soul's energy, which is very, very much about how do you put the pieces together, very much about the systems and service, and, looking at what stabilization meant for me on going on forward. And the fact that Mars allows me to be very, very organized this week, and Mercury allows me very much to speak about what I need, and then see what happens when I speak about what I need. Am I around people that help me accomplish, or are good mirrors for me, or am I around people that just so.
Exactly. And two things that were coming up for me when you were saying about Mars. One thing is, which is not related to Mars at all, is let me see if I can get it back in my brain, because it came and then it sort of went away. Well, I'll hopefully come back to that. But the thing related to Mars, for me anyway, with Virgo moving into Mars, for me, it's going to activate my Aries energy, which is superly aligned to the energy that we're moving into. It's like, who am I? And how am I going to be seen? And this new way I'm going to be seen, this new way of doing all that I do. And then what kind of action can I take? What kind of action will I be encouraged to take? What kind of action are people going to support me in taking? And I say this because I want to remind all of you out there who are watching, as Kitty says, you do have a support team. And you also want to make sure that the people that you are hanging out with, who is actually helping to fuel the work that you're looking to do, and I use the word fuel, and who is there who's sort of pulling you down. And you have to pay attention to that, because if you are in this process where you're looking to create something, you want to have a lot of yay sayers versus naysayers. And if you have a lot of naysayers, this might be the time to really start saying, you know what? I'm going to spend a little less time with those naysayers, because if you're really looking to create something going forward, you want cheerleaders. You want people that are going to support you, that's going to hold that light for you, that's going to encourage you, and that might even also help push you when you start to get afraid. Because when we are in the process of getting ready to jump, sometimes we get afraid and sometimes we step back, because it's like, God, do I really want to do this? So you need those people who are going to push you, not people who are going to sit there and throw in the what ifs. What if this happens? What if that happens? And you think this, the expression I love the most is, do you think this is really the right time to be doing this? Well, if this is not the right time to be doing this, when the hell else is the right time to be doing this? Because there is no time, there is no now other than now. So of course this is the right time to be doing it.
I like it. And yes, so Deborah said yesterday was a green system and structures as well as healing. And then Deborah said, or just taking up space and not willing to be either for or against. Yes. And, something I've recently just come to for me is, if I'm around people that I am not able to be, here's that Chiron, who I am, whether it's because of conflict, whether it's because I'm just not comfortable, that's on me, because then why am I there? And so if I'm not able to be my best self around someone for whatever the reason is, then is that a person I want to be around? Period. If I have to change my own behavior to feel more comfortable, and then I'm not being who I am. I'm reading an amazing book right now called Untamed.
Oh yes, I've actually read that book.
That's a wonderful book.
Yes.
And she talks about it's about being your natural self. And I think before I used to think, well, if they did this, I'd be this. Or just this week I went, if I'm having to change just to be around them, then that's about me saying it's not a relationship. It's not about them. It's not, I can't problem solve them anyway, but I can look at what my reaction is to them. What is this? Is this a mirror for me to look at about something about myself? Or it's all right to say, thank you for the time we've had together and no longer,
Exactly. Exactly. I mean, when we think about in reference to frequencies and vibrations, the key of it is to whatever vibration you are at, you want to make sure that you are with people that are either going to be at your vibration or slightly higher. If you happen to be around people that are in the lower vibration, your job is to not shrink yourself to match their vibration. Your job is to stay where you are and hope that they're going to evolve to reach your vibration that you're in, but not to shrink yourself back down just to accommodate them, because that's not going to help your energy at all. In fact, it really sabotages your own energy because it makes you have to work really harder to get back to that higher vibration again, because you've shrunk yourself to reach someone else's, to accommodate someone who may not, let's say, be in a happy place. Let's say you're extremely excited, happy, whatever not, and you come across somebody who may not be, maybe they're not feeling well, or whatever their story is. Your job is not to bring your energy down to match them. Your job is to stay up and happy and hope that that's going to be contagious enough for them that they too will rise to that happy place as well. And then that's great, because now there's a lot of happy juice going on. Otherwise, if they can't rise, that's okay too, as long as you do not dip your happy to drop down to where they are.
Because you don't have time.
No.
It's such an unfolding process, and it's not about, I'm better about, that's why I use denser or expanded vibration. I want to continue to expand my frequency, so my vibration is raised. And so if I'm putting myself in places where I'm either holding it steady, I'm not actively thinking about that, then that's about my choices, not theirs, who they are. They're just who they are in their journey. And, like you said, all we have is right here. So at every moment, I have that choice. Yes. And even when I find myself in an everyday situation, my choice of if I live my life from the frequency I want to live it from, my reactions will reflect that.
Exactly. I don't know if I read this somewhere, heard this somewhere, but whatever the case is, and it's relating to the Saturn Pisces energy, where it's about boundaries, and when I heard this, it really stuck with me. And what it was is, when we speak of boundaries, about setting boundaries, and we're in this energy to reset our boundaries so we can be better at ourselves. And when we set a boundary is not about thinking that we're going to force that other person to do something the way we want it done. A boundary is saying, for example, and I'm going to use the example this person used because it's just easy to understand. It was about a daughter and a mother. And the mother, she would do occasions like celebrations for Christmas, birthdays, but whatever. And she'd bring a bunch of people together. But every time she did, she would get really frustrated, angry, and she would just get loud and whatever not. And her daughter would tell her, Mom, it would be really nice if you didn't do that. And this is my boundary. So finally, what her daughter decided to do and say to her was, well, Mom, I understand that you love doing get-togethers, but for whatever the reasons are, they must stress you because you get really loud and you start throwing things and saying things. So should that happen, I'm just going to let you know now that what's going to happen is me and my children are going to get ourselves together and we're going to leave. Because we don't really like that environment when that happens. So we're going to leave should that happen. And that's what setting a boundary is really about. It's not trying to change the person based on what they're doing. It's recognizing that, okay, what can I do to create a better boundary for myself? So if I'm not comfortable with whatever the situation is, then very simple, I'm going to remove myself from that situation. And that's how we set a boundary. And that stuck with me because I was like, wow. I said, I learned something today, as I always am learning something. So next time you're in the process of trying to figure out your boundaries, whether you need to say no to something because you're tired of constantly saying yes, and then you get annoyed because you say yes, you sit there and ask yourself, what is your boundary? What are you willing to change if that boundary needs to be changed? It's not about the other person. It's about what you're willing to step away from so it doesn't continue to happen.
Because at the end of your life, there's only you.
Yes, that is so true.
And
That
so,
is true.
You rejoin a bigger energy. And so your sovereignty becomes part of the bigger expression. But you're not going to, I remember years ago, I took a Stephen Covey course. And one of the profound things I heard there was nobody gets to the end of their lives and wishes they had another day at work or had another instance like this daughter. And, so you have the ability for heaven on earth, nirvana, however you want, by creating the life. It doesn't mean you're not going to be sad. It doesn't mean you're not going to be have emotions, but it means if I'm living from that place of creating the best life, yes, I know there's sadness in the world, but what I can do for my life is put those boundaries up and create the life.
Exactly. And when we think about it, if we do not allow ourselves to experience the sadness or even the anger for that matter, when we move into a space of joy or laughter, we can't appreciate it as much because we've never allowed ourselves to experience the sadness and anger or grief or whatever it is. So these emotions that we do have are there for a reason, to help us to recognize when we're in that energetic high lifting, like, wow, everything is going perfect, to when things shift a little bit. I like to call it riding the wave. When everything is going really, really well, your wave is just really calm and everything is just calm and happy and like da, 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 perfect. And all of a sudden, the wave comes. It's like, okay, let's get ready to ride the wave. And that's just what life is. We're going to have those moments of up and downs. And as we call it, the down is a part of where we learn our lesson. This is the challenge. The challenge is the lesson. This is like, oh, this is a time to get excited because you're going to be learning something different about yourself. It's the experience and the lesson that we get to learn through that part with the wave of being courageous, being patient, being strong, being resilient, and in that wave is when we get that. In the calmness, we don't get that. In the calmness, yes, we get joy, we get excitement. We're like, yes, this is amazing. And believe me when I say, I'm so looking forward to that calm when it shows up. Because sometimes it just seems like that wave takes it's a longer stretch of a wave than the calm sometimes. But we all go through it.
I went to a memorial service today, and it's a very Scorpio thing to think about. What would they say at mine?
Well, I did not know you went to a memorial service.
Oh, yeah, I did. I think I told you, but I think we were running through one of our conversations. But I went to a memorial service today for, it was actually my husband's associate, and he knew his wife. They both worked for that company. And what a life well lived. And the memories, what people remembered about the love he showed, the ability to help people, but also they could laugh at the things that made him who he was. One of the things they said is he had an obsession with spreadsheets, and everybody burst out laughing. So living the life of who he was, and it was a very fast passing. We've talked about this, Joanne, about there are people going very quickly.
Yes.
And gone too soon, but kudos to him, because he had a life well lived, and it was reflected in, and as sad as people were, it was in that sadness, the gift, I'm going to cry, the gift he gave was that is the place everybody met in that pause to say, thank you for living such a good life and being a part of mine. And so, wow, what a wonderful way to get to the end.
So, Kitty, as you were saying, in regards to, you know, what would yours be like? Here, insight that I just received, and I think my angels are just being really funny at this point, but could be serious too. Write down what it is you would like it to look like and sound like. So you can give scripts to people and say, you know what, the day that it's my memorial, this is what I would like you guys to talk about. Here's a script. Make sure everyone gets a piece of it. Make sure everyone gets to say something. And, you know, if you want them to be laughing, if you want them to talk about astrology. So if it's, you know, because I think that way too. It's like, well, when I do crossover, I always say, when I do crossover, who's actually still going to be around to be at my memorial? Since I'm going to be living for such a long time, it's like, who's really going to be around to be at my memorial? my great grandchildren, maybe. Sense of humor, right?
You know, and for me, my directions about if something happens to me is to do what you need to do, because I don't really care. Like, you know, I hope that people remember me fondly and for helping and for the things that I hope they understand who I was by the way I lived my life. And that's the best that's what I want. That's what I desire. I prefer is that I've lived, and that's exactly what we're talking about, living the heaven on earth so that people can see it, you know. And again, that doesn't mean everything is always great, but it's also my response. And if I live from that place when things are a problem. So.
Exactly. So we have quite of an interesting week. As we already mentioned, our nodes are changing. Mars moves into Virgo. We have Mercury moving into Leo. We have our retrograde with Venus and Leo. So we have a very interesting upcoming week for July.
And yes, because when Mercury goes into Leo, it communicates, it tells us the stories of the reality of our energies and the realities around us. Yes, of who we are. So there's a lot of information coming to you this particular week, and you can be very precise about how it happens, and so that your soul really knows kind of where it wants to take its first step.
Yes. And also want to remind everybody, when we think about that Venus going retrograde in Leo on July 22nd, remember that 22nd, the 22 is a master number. So it's about that master builder. So with Venus in Leo, what is Venus in Leo going to help you build? So ideally, where is Venus on your chart? And what's in your fifth house energy? So what are you going to be building during this retrograde period of resetting and renewing, reviewing? So I'm quite interested. I'm going to have to look at my chart to see what's going on in my fifth house. And you know I have to pull the chart out. Yes? Why the hell not?
Well, and there's a lot of interesting transits for people.
Let's see. My fifth house. What's going on in my fifth house energy? Oh, quite interesting. My fifth house, I have Neptune in my fifth house, which is in Sagittarius. Well, combination of Scorpio Sagittarius is my fifth house. So that's fun.
Your house of self. There's transformation happening. So
yeah, exactly. So like the way I did that. Yes. So I think it's time to pull some cards so we can help our folks who are watching, whether they're watching with us right here or they're on the replay, pulling some cards to give them additional insight, help them work on their chakras to be more aligned to what is coming in for them. Because again, with the 777 portal that we just had, the upper chakras are definitely experiencing a activation, especially if you're aware. And if you are watching this, you are now aware, and you did not have to do this theoretically on the 777 energy. You could do this now. Sit in that meditation, focus on those chakras. The specific colors you would have gotten a kick out of this. But the specific colors that showed up for these activations were, if I can remember them, emerald green, sapphire, diamond, and also ruby. Those are the colors that were being activated for those particular chakras. So,
well, how interesting what I pulled. So I decided, because I've been talking about heaven on earth, the Awakening Avalon deck by Jeanette Biro.
Oh, yes.
And I got 3 cards. The first one was that ruby red. It's about that root chakra. In order to dream, even though this activation is not about those chakras, you still are an earthling.
Yes.
Or at least partly earthling. You still are human. And grounding is really important, because what we know, we are connecting to the cosmos. These 3 came out together, opening to our new dimensions. And one of the things, look at this, rest. Make sure that you recover. Take the time to rest and recover as you ground yourself and connect.
Interesting. Mm-hmm. Interesting. And as Kitty was chatting about her 3 cards, which is odd for me to have 3 cards come out at the same time, but they did. 2 of them are in reverse, and 2 of them are associated with the crown chakra. So thank goodness for that. And 1 is associated with the throat, which is, again, that activation that we've experienced in that 777. Our first card in reverse is marriage. Now, when I use the word marriage in this content, it's about, what are you married to? What are your habits, beliefs, your programmings, your philosophy? With these retrogrades, this could definitely be a really great time to review those and ask, do they still match the energy you're in? This is a great time that you may have a habit that really isn't aligned with you anymore. It's a good idea to work on letting it go. So review what you are married to, and also review the marriage you have with yourself, not necessarily the other person, but the marriage you have with yourself. What are you willing to review in the marriage with self? The number's 8-8. That 8 energy is about the abundance. It's about all that you're here to achieve, all that you have achieved. It's about the harmony of bringing things into alignment, which I believe that this energy we're moving into with the nodes of Aries and Libra, it's going to help us to bring things really into harmony. I don't believe this is about suffering anymore. Now, I do believe that for many years as humans, we just had the mindset that we were supposed to suffer. And I think
very Piscean. The age of Pisces, yeah.
Yeah, and I think now that we are, as we move into the age of Aquarius, this is no longer about suffering. This is really about, how can you bring more harmony into your life, and what are you willing to do that? Associated with that crown energy. Now, 8 and 8 is 16, which is our 7 energy. We're back to that 7 vibration of taking time to quiet down. Take time to go into the pause. Take time to review, especially in this week that we're getting ready to make all these shifts. Yeah, take time to rest. Take time to review, because once these shifts happen, I truly believe that once these shifts happen, things are gonna really start to unravel. I know for me, it's been all about, okay, what's the next piece that I need? And I do believe that many of us are going to start seeing the pieces that we need, so we can start moving into that next thing. And it's going to get faster. So those of you out there who've been wanting it to speed up, well, be careful what you wish for, because it's going to speed up. That's that 7 energy, bringing everything into balance, taking time to pause for now, and just to reflect. So that's the first card in reverse. Second card, quite interesting, spiritual career, which was in reverse. And it's interesting because our very first card works out to be a 7. Our second card is 77. We can't make this up if we tried. And I do have to put a little notation out that I had asked today to see the number 777 to confirm something. So I have to thank myself, because there I have it, confirming something. And Kitty, I'll share with you later what that is. So anyway, spiritual career. So are you in your spiritual career? And when I speak of spiritual career, it doesn't mean you have to be an acupuncturist or massage therapist or Reiki practitioner. Spiritual career just means that you are doing something that you so love doing, that when you get up in the morning and you know you're about to go spend the next 8 hours or 12 hours doing it, it brings you such joy. That's your spiritual career. Now the card's in reverse. So therefore, there's probably a lot of you out there that are not in alignment to your spiritual career. And this is an opportunity because, again, the nodes, I am, who are you? This is your time to start asking that, which is the throat chakra. Who am I? How do I want people to see me? How I don't want people to guess. I don't want people to look at me and say, oh, well, you know what? Joanne's a singer. Hell no. As much as I would love to be, I will, and I'm hoping that in my next life I come back as a singer because I admire people who can. But I am sure there's no one out there in the world that's going to sit there and say, Joanne's a singer. Hell no, I'm not a singer. That's just, I might sing in the shower, and I think the only person that gets to hear me sing every once in a while might be my daughter and my husband, but that's as far as that goes. But who are you? This is your time to start asking that question. And of course, our double 7, which is our 14, which is our 5. There is change coming. So even if you're not doing absolutely anything to make a change, this is one of those things that there's change coming. Whether you're ready for it or not, as we used to say when we were children, ready or not, here I come. If you didn't hide, go hide now because change is coming. Or don't go hide. Get ready for it because change is coming. Remember, card is in reverse. Third card, which is quite interesting, and I always feel this card is always showing up somewhere. Forgiveness. It's really time to move into that space of forgiving. Forgive yourself for whatever it is you need to forgive yourself for. Forgive the people around you. Forgive the people in the world. Forgive everybody. Just start using the word, I forgive you. Kitty, is there a song? Is there a song
for forgiveness?
Yes, there's got to be a song out there.
I'm sure there is. It's not coming to mind, but I'm actually absolutely drawn to the fact that you got all double numbers. And if you're watching this for the first time, she does not have all double numbers in that deck.
Yes,
and you got 7, 8, and 9.
Exactly. And she brought that to my attention. I would have noticed it in a second because I always look at the numbers to see. And that itself plays a role because, again, for one, these double numbers, now we don't want to confuse it. Master numbers are 11, 22, 33. Those hold a higher vibration. These numbers that are showing up, our 99, our 88, and our 77, are known as power numbers. And what a power number means, it just means that there's 2 numbers that actually repeat themselves, and the energy of that is extremely strong. And of course, we have 987 or 878 or 789. I can't even add right now. Which again just reminds you that everything is in perfect order. Everything is exactly how it needs to be. And anytime you see a number, such as maybe you'll see 1, 2, 3, 4, maybe you see 5, 6, 7, whatever the numbers you see, that is reminding you that everything's in perfect order. Everything's exactly how it needs to be for right now. So our double 9 is reminding you there's a major transformation coming. We have our 5, our 9. As we change, we're going to transform. As we change, we're going to transform. And that's also going to transform the contracts that we are in with one another. The people that we hang out with. Get ready for this. And I know for me, this sometimes makes me sad, where sometimes the people I hang out with, they sort of fade away. There's no goodbye. There's no, at least sometimes there's no disagreement, but sometimes there is. And they just disappear. And it's like, well, where the hell did they go? And I'm like, I want them back. But I'm really starting to understand this whole process that people do come into your life for a reason, season, or lifetime. And when someone fades away, it means that that person came to do what they needed to do, and their time with you is over for now. So that's your contract. So pay attention to those people who are going to fade away, but then get really excited because new people will be coming in, because as you move into this new, whatever it is you're moving into, you're going to have new people showing up, new teachers, new friends, new relationships. So what are our numbers add up to, Kitty? We have 9. Let's see. Goodness gracious. We have 5 and 7. What does that add up to?
12.
Thank you. That 12 number, it constantly follows me. Now let's talk a little bit about our portal. As I mentioned earlier, about our 777, which is that portal energy. Our 12 is our portal as well. When we take that 1-2 energy, that 1 is reminding you that yes, you're independent and you're a leader. That 2 is reminding you that you have partners. You're not doing this alone, which is of 12-3, which is about the collaboration that you have with one another, what you are creating with each other. You're not doing this by yourself. This is no longer about I. No, this is really about we. We have to do this together. So those are the 3 cards, and I know Kitty pulled 3. Did you pull any others?
No, but the one that's sitting on the top is your choice with sacral chakra. And really that sacral chakra, that orange that Deborah talked about, is to feel alive with this energy and welcome your choice in every moment. And the biggest contracts you may be letting go of are the ones you didn't realize you signed. The ones that you have bought into because somebody said this was a way to be. And that's a real joyful one that we're able to let go of. Like, you know what? Don't have to follow that anymore. So
exactly.
That's that your choice in the moment. Be alive with the energy that you have wherever you are.
Exactly. And when we think about the choice and we think about breaking free from contracts, I mean, very recently I've been chatting a lot about that in regards that this is a time where you can rewrite. You can clear and rewrite your contracts, known as your Akasha records. So whatever your contract is, if it's a contract with body weight, and you understand your why to why you've called in the body weight, this is a chance that you can now clear it and reset it to be in a different version of your body weight. You know, just like you do with anything else, you can clear it out and call in something different. You know, and remembering too, you have a choice, which is known as free will. You know, and I always laugh about the word free will because I'm like, yes, okay, it's free will. Theoretically, you don't have to do something. But the reality of that is if you choose not to do it now because you do have free will not to, you're eventually going to have to do it. You know, so when you look at the bigger picture of things, you can choose not to do this now. But at some point in your life, you're going to have to do that unless you really understand the why you call that in and you're ready to clear that energy.
And I also think that when you align yourself, your free will, that Black Lilith energy that you have, that is about your survival, about your essence of who you wish to be, aligns. You don't fight it because you're not following anybody else's rules at that point.
Exactly.
So we sometimes say, well, you know, free will. Well, when I'm aligned with who I want to be, then my free will is a blessing. It's not about some other thing. It's not about, I really didn't want to go, but I went anyway because he'd be disappointed. But then I'm not aligned with my need, my contract need to do such stuff. So yeah, it's an interesting concept in general.
Yeah,
so
exactly. Yeah. So just to remind you guys, go ahead and work on your throat and your crown today, in addition to the activations from the heart and third eye as well. And I don't know why I keep hearing just to pull this top card because I don't know why. And quite interesting. And of course, it has to be a 7, that 34, the spiritual guidance. You know, and remember, you're not alone. So if there's anything that is weighing on your heart, such as maybe the free will stuff, or you're just in that contemplation, not really sure what direction to go, sit with spirit and have a conversation. Have a conversation with spirit. That 7 energy is about taking time to quiet down. After all, we are in that 2023 is the universal energy for the entire year. To sit with spirit, quiet down, gain some insight, balance your energy, balance your contracts.
Yep.
And
clarity.
Exactly.
All right. Well, we've been on an hour. We'll be back to play, I'm quite sure. So
yes, we will be. But for now, enjoy the rest of your night or day or afternoon where you are in the world. And Kitty and I will be back again to chat some more. But for now, bye-bye. Ooh. Mm-mm.